Let's talk about how a perfectly written SQL query can potentially misclassify your most critical patients. In one of our most recent technical sessions, we had the objective of learning case statements. And the use case was simple. If the test result of that patient was abnormal, label that patient as high risk. If the test result of that patient was a severe issue, label that patient as severely high risk. Anything else, keep that patient's risk analysis as like normal or low. So one of my students wrote her code, syntax perfect, documentation 10/10. Produced the output, there were no errors. Everything good, right? That's what you think. But here's what happened. When we looked at her code, she said case when severe instead of case when severe issue. So what does that do? That labels all the patients in her data set that have a severe issue as no risk. Now, imagine the gravity of this. Imagine we are in a healthcare system, we have hundreds and thousands of patients, and all of those patients that actually in real life have a severe issue are now labeled as low risk patients. Like, sit in that for a second. And to be clear, in the live session, this was not like a, ooh, you messed up type thing. We all took a step back and had a broader conversation because everybody was like, you know what? That's scary. Like, it was the opportunity to really sit in that and think about the impact of your analysis and the responsibility that you have as someone that is in an organization that is responsible for that data. Type of thing that makes you better, because from that moment on, every time she produced an output in her analysis, guess what she did? She went back and she validated that data. That's a mindset shift. That's something that once it happens one time, it redirects the way that your brain operates and you move differently going forward. This is one of the benefits of actually working through code and talking through that in real time. Because if she was solo dolo, she would have ran that, it would have worked perfectly, and she probably wouldn't have even second guessed the output. But since we were able to go through that together and she was able to look back in hindsight, she was like, you know what? You right. And she moved differently going forward. And when your brain starts prioritizing things in that way, you understand that in the space of data, we are not just tool users. Like, this is a huge responsibility. So your brain automatically starts to shift in that direction. And this is exactly what I mean when I say you have to get under the hood in the space of data. That passive learning or just sitting and watching someone perform syntax does not adequately prepare you for the real world. Because in the real world, we actually check the data, we validate the output, we ask questions: who's using it? What's the goal of this? What is their analysis? Like, what are they trying to do? We actually, our brains work in that way. We're not just tool users. I cannot stress that enough. And one way to check this is, if we would have looked at that column and checked for a distinct value on that column, it would have exposed that severe issue wasn't even captured at all. And that is our most critical population. And this type of analysis creates real world impact. In healthcare, it has dependency on who gets prioritized first. In finances, it could potentially miss fraud. In business, it could potentially put you in a situation to where the recommendations that you're providing to that business are essentially faulty. And it's not because your logic does not work, because the logic worked exactly how it was told to work, but it just because of the output was not validated to consider the real world impact of that analysis. So, like I say, in this space, once again, we're not just tool users. We're taught to get under the hood and think about things from point A all the way to point Z. And if you are trying to transition into the space of data by only focusing on those tools, you're missing a big chunk of what makes people successful in this space. And this is the type of work and the thought process that my student was able to undergo, that going forward, she's able to carry that with her and understand the real world implications of faulty analysis. So, bye, y'all. Have a good day.